One Zambia, one nation. Welcome to ZANIS News. I'm your presenter, Mwangala Kapandula. We take you through the headlines. Zambia assumes COMESA chair. 28 youth women groups receive over 2.9 million kwacha CDF loans in Kabwe. Plus, over 800 bags of confiscated millimil handed over to Solwezi District Administration. ZANIS News in detail. Zambia has assumed the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa COMESA Authority of Heads of State and Government and is the new chairperson of the new bureau of the regional body. During the 22nd COMESA Heads of State and Government Summit, which was hosted by Zambia, outgoing chairperson, who is Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, handed over the instruments of power to the incoming chairperson. On the Zambian President Hakainde Hichilema. Details are in this report.
The second Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa COMESA Heads of State and Government Summit has been held in Lusaka, Zambia. Various dignitaries, which included heads of state and government from the 21 member states, members of the diplomatic corps, the business community, were in attendance at the meeting. The summit, which was last hosted by Zambia in 1997, has also seen the Zambian President Hakainde Hichilema assume the position of chairperson of the COMESA Authority of Heads of State and Government. President Hichilema will also chair the new Bureau of the Regional Bloc, which will have Burundi as the vice chair, while the outgoing chair, Egypt, is the rapporteur. Egyptian President handed over the instruments of power to the Zambian President during the 22nd COMESA Heads of State and Government Summit.
Ladies and gentlemen, as for peace and security, it is obvious that we are facing magnitude of challenges that are posing on the sustainability of peace and security in our countries. The matter that requires us to commit to a number of parameters and main principles, most importantly, the necessity to respect the right of nations of the African countries to life, the importance of settling disputes, conflicts, and issues that are threatening this right to life, in addition to preserving our national institutions as they represent the backbone of the stability and security of our countries and our people and ensure our highest interests.
In accepting the new role as chairperson of the COMESA Authority, President Hichilema reaffirmed Zambia's commitment to supporting efforts aimed at promoting peace and security everywhere.
I want to touch again on your subject of peace, security, stability. It is a priority. It is a prerequisite to anything that we wish to achieve. And your experiences in the room upstairs, President and I were chatting, we had a bilateral meeting. We will not say much of what we discussed, but the relevant component of the things that we discussed was to draw on the experiences of other countries amongst ourselves, of how they've dealt with conflict over hundreds of years. And we should not reinvent the wheel. We should walk the path of peace, security, and stability. Short of that, it will be a mission impossible. So, Central African Republic, Eastern Congo, obviously now Sudan, is of grave concern and should be so to all of us.
The 22nd COMESA Heads of State and Government Summit was held under the theme Economic Integration for a Thriving COMESA, anchored on green investment, value addition, and tourism. Michelle Lubinda for ZANIS in Osaka.
Stakeholders in Zambia have welcomed the call from Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa COMESA Business Council on the need for enhanced value addition in order to grow economies. By Zambia founder and Komako say there is need to promote value addition, especially now as COMESA member states prepare and transform into competitive and sustainable growing economies in the post-COVID era. Join Jonathan Mukuka with the details.
21 Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa COMESA member states successfully took part in the 16th COMESA Business Forum held under the theme Economic Integration with Thriving COMESA anchored on green investment, value addition and tourism. Coming out prominent from the COMESA Business Forum was the need for enhanced value addition, among others, in order to grow and expand the economies of the member states. Stakeholders in Zambia have welcomed the call to do more in enhancing value addition.
We should desist from the traditional exportation of raw cereals into the Far East and now begin to add value.
For us, what we really want to do is that we really want to make sure that we support the small-scale farmers, we uplift their living standards.
Komako further says it is making strides to export various commodities to countries in Southern Africa and beyond after adding value.
So when the call comes in, like what was happening in the meeting today, it gives us the zeal and the inspiration to do even a lot more. So right now what we've done with the It's Wild brand is that we've scaled it in terms of trying to not only sell in Zambia, but we're now even moving to external markets.
BioZ founder Ivan Singoma says lack of financing is the biggest challenge in implementing the call for value addition among some countries in the COMESA region.
So we are calling upon the financial lending institution out there in whatever capacities they have is to ensure that they walk the talk by offering cheap financing and so such that we can capacitate our local SMEs.
Indeed, there is need to promote value addition, especially now as COMESA member states prepare and transform into competitive and sustainable growing economies in the post-COVID-19 pandemic era. Jonathan reporting for ZANIS News in Lusaka.
Still on COMESA, in the energy sector, Copperbelt Energy Corporation, CEC, says it remains committed to continue generating power in order to contribute to the needs of the country and the COMESA region at large. CEC Managing Director Owen Slaughter said this in a speech read for him by CEC Head Corporate Communications Veronica Nkolola during the COMESA Business Forum on the margins of the summit. Sande Walia has the details.
The Copperbelt Energy Corporation CEC says it remains committed to continue generating power in order to contribute to the needs of the country and the COMESA region at large. CEC Managing Director Owen Slaughter said this in a speech read for him by CEC Head Corporate Communication Veronica Nkolola during the COMESA Business Forum in Lusaka.
It goes without saying that as economies rebuild and grow, the demand for power increases. A lot of our conversations here have been about how do we support nations, how do we support each other to drive growth within the region. But what then becomes a challenge to power utilities such as ours is the need to invest in infrastructure to support the generation and distribution of power. Statistically speaking, as of 2021, the installed generation capacity within the COMESA region stood at 92,000 megawatts, with 69% of it being thermal generated and 30% being hydro-generated power.
Zambia Association of Manufacturers has called on leveraging on what COMESA region does not have.
Growth. We have in common the need for integrated economies. But why can we not leverage on what we don't have in common? What we don't have in common across borders is skills. What we don't have in common across borders in COMESA is resources. What we don't have in common is access to finance.
Standard Chartered Bank called on COMESA member states to work together and be productive.
And as COMESA member countries, countries, as we are talking about trade, as we are talking about businesses, we need to be able to support one another, even as we are developing ourselves to be ready to talk about how can we use ChatGPT today effectively and not only to cheat in exams. But we have to teach our people, as we are talking about businesses, that there's a time when you, a man, you move out from that prayer room and you go and work and you become productive.
Meanwhile, Trade Kings Group General Manager also expressed his thoughts on the importance of the business forum.
Basically, opening up the borders is very good. Only thing what will happen is our products will get exposed. Most important, I'm looking at it as foreign exchange earning for the country, which is very important. And as a result of goods being exported, more people are employed directly and indirectly.
For ZANIS in Lusaka, I am Sunday Wire.
In other news, government says the development of road infrastructure in Luapula province is a gateway that will help woo investors in the region and open international trade with East Africa. It is against this backdrop that farmers are being called upon to add value to their products in order to compete favorably on the international market. Here is the rest of the story. Government says the investment in road infrastructure development in Luapula province will stir economic growth and a pathway to international trade between Zambia and East Africa. Provincial Agriculture Coordinator Godwin Chatwe says the road infrastructure is critical for investor participation and trade linkages for international trade. Mr. Chatwe says the province has performed well in the last farming season and encouraged farmers to add value to their produce in order to compete favorably.
Short of constant rainfall. So as a province, it would be a gateway to East Africa in terms of connectivity. Once the road is done and the bridge is done over the Luapula River. So we want to invite as many investors as possible to come and invest in the province and help the province to develop.
And Kawambwa District Commissioner says government is committed to improving the road infrastructure in the district and has set aside funds to work on the roads, which include the Luwena farm block.
We had an activity to kickstart the installation of electricity system. So meaning Nava Barati soon, I think in 2 months' time, they will have electricity provided to them because they have been complaining to say they cannot start their production activities when there is no electricity.
And Senior Chief Mushota of Kawambwa District has also echoed the need to have a good road network, especially around the Luwena farm block, in order to encourage investment. ZANIS News, Mwangalaka Pandula reporting in Kawambwa District, Luapula Province. We continue with the news. The government has handed over 2.9 million kwacha Constituency Development Fund loans to 28 youths and women empowerment in Kabwe. Central Province Deputy Permanent Secretary Godfrey Chitambala handed over the grants and loans on behalf of Central Province Permanent Secretary Miona Mwanakampwe. Details in this report.
It was all dances of joy for these recipients of empowerment loans from government through the Constituency Development Fund. Members of the 28 community, women and youth groups from Kabwe Central Constituency are beneficiaries of the over 2.9 million kwacha worth of loans from CDF.
28 groups from various wards in Kabwe Central Constituency are being empowered with amounts varying from 30,000 to 200,000. I am well informed that a total of 2,954,170 is being given out today. This is a great achievement by government and more is yet to come.
Kabwe Central Member of Parliament, Chrysosta Piri, says systems have been put in place to monitor the funds.
Being a government that is responsible enough, that's one to make sure that the money do not go to waste, like the way we saw previously, that people are given loans under means of youth, but follow up and pay back, it was a problem. But now systems we know they are in place, and the Able Bank, Kawa Municipal Council there, we know you're going to make sure that you are going to guide our beneficiaries well so that they do their business well and should be able to pay back.
For the District Commissioner, Lennox Shimwambwa, an environment for businesses to flourish has been created.
Now promoting to allow people to work hard, to allow people to give them business opportunities. And I think that's what this government is about.
The loans will be administered and managed by Zambia National Commercial Bank.
It is a very big privilege for us as ZANACO to be chosen to administer and manage the Kawa Central CDF Revolving Fund. Today also comes at a time when we as a bank are celebrating the Micro, Small and Medium Entrepreneur MSME Month under the theme, Making Business Easy. We are alive to the challenges business face in accessing finance and among others. And this is why we are committed to making business easy for our clients through tailored solutions.
And the beneficiaries are grateful for the support.
President Hakainde Ichilema and indeed our area Member of Parliament, as well as our civic leadership, for giving us this rare opportunity to grow our various businesses through programs such as this. To therefore assure you that we will do our best to ensure that these funds you have entrusted us with are used for the intended purpose in a bid to develop our communities and constituency at large.
Kelvin Tembo for ZANIS in Kabwe, Central Province.
In the mining sector, Minister of Mines and Minerals Development, Paul Kabuswe, says government will not entertain illegal mining activities of manganese and newly discovered minerals. Mr. Kabuswe said this during the Luapula Province Manganese Mining Indaba, which was convened by civil society organizations, government, traditional leaders, and other stakeholders. Here are the details.
Luapula Province is holding the long-awaited Manganese Mining Indaba, a conference drawing a diverse stakeholder participation, which includes government officials, civic leaders, civil society organizations, and some traditional leaders, as well as mine representatives from Luapula and Central Provinces, respectively. Key delegates at the two-day Indaba to address challenges in the sector shared their sentiments.
Traditional leaders from Central and Luapula Province at the time when Zambia is working hard to develop the manganese mining sector.
The fifth Luapula Mine Indaba under the theme Increasing Manganese Production in the Energy Transition Era, which is also the first occasion ever in the manganese Indaba.
Environmental conservationists and champions against child labor have equally added their voice.
Province, we have also seen an increase in child labor.
Minister of Mines and Mineral Development, Paul Kabuswe, has given direction as to how government is positioned to bring sanity to the manganese and general mining landscape in the country.
I want to address both the miners and the processors of manganese going forward, and I want this point to be taken very seriously. Somebody owning a processing plant, Your Royal Highnesses, must prove that the manganese that they have mined, they bought it legally from a legal miner and at the right price. Don't want you to be you that are processing manganese. When we find you, after the law is put in place, you are processing manganese which you bought illegally, would definitely prosecute you or will shut you down.
David Ndovi for ZANIS, Mansa District.
And from Muchinga Province, the Ministry of Finance and National Planning has begun engaging and consulting various stakeholders on the formulation and implementation of the 2024 national budget in the province. Provincial Permanent Secretary Henry Mukungole says the aim of the meeting is to ensure that government implements an inclusive national budget. Details in this report by Miriam Kumwenda.
These are some of the submissions that stakeholders in Muchinga province have made towards the formulation and implementation of the 2024 national budget. The submissions were made this morning during the 2024 national budget and the 2024 to 2026 medium-term expenditure framework stakeholders consultative meeting, which was graced by Muchinga Province Permanent Secretary Henry Mukongole at Chinsali Civic Center.
I am delighted to be with you at this important national budget consultative meeting, and as part of government's ongoing commitment, fiscal transparency, the Ministry of Finance and National Planning, through the Office of the Secretary to the Treasury, has invited state and non-state actors to participate in the formulation and implementation of the 2024 national budget and the 2024 to 2026 medium-term expenditure framework. Our aim is to ensure that government implements an involved and inclusive national budget.
Samson Piri is the delegation team leader.
I want to assure the gathering here that the submissions will be forwarded, the submissions will be evaluated for possible inclusion in the 2024 budget and 2024 to 2026 medium-term framework. So our coming here was, of course, to make sure that everyone participates in the process. Currently, the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Kainde, has been advocating for inclusiveness, of course. So our aim as Minister of Finance and our coming here is to make sure that everyone participates in the budgeting process so that the budget reflects the aspirations of the people on the ground.
Miriam Kumwenda, reporting for ZANIS in Chinsali, Muchinga Province.
We now move to Northwestern Province. Over 800 by 25 kilogram bags of mealie meal that were confiscated from smugglers have been handed over to Solwezi District Administration. Provincial Acting Deputy Permanent Secretary Tredson Mulofwa says stringent measures have been put in place to curb any smuggling activities of the commodity. Onesius Mamba has the details in this report.
Destined for the Democratic Republic of Congo, this truck was intercepted by Zambia National Service officers loaded with 816 by 25 kilogram bags of mealie meal that were on the verge of being illegally smuggled into the neighboring country. The seized mealie meal has been handed over to the district administration in Solwezi for distribution to various institutions. Provincial Acting Deputy Permanent Secretary Tredson Mulofwa handed over the mealie meal.
Sitting with the provincial administration, it was said that this commodity, the mealie meal that was intercepted, be distributed and be given to the government institutions and also the private institutions here in Solwezi. The total number of mealie meal which is here is 816.
Mr. Mulofwa is concerned that people are still smuggling the commodity to the DRC.
The day before yesterday, we were also in Mumbeji, Kalumbira district, where of about 700 plus bags were also intercepted. They were also en route going to DRC Congo, using the Kakoma load.
And some beneficiaries have thanked government for the donation.
We are very grateful for this donation they have given to us because this mealie meal will help the children in all areas. For example, it will reduce our expenses at home.
For ZANIS, I am Onesius Mamba in Solwezi District, Northwestern Province.
As we end the news, a recap of the headlines. Zambia assumes COMESA chair. 28 youth women groups receive over 2.9 million kwacha CDF loans in Kabwe. Plus, over 800 bags of confiscated mealie meal handed over to Solwezi District Administration. That's all we had for you on ZANIS News, but do make a date with us next time. On behalf of the production team, this has been Mwangala Kapandola. Good night and God bless.